Okay, I think the internet got stuck, but can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can now.
Um, Hello, great to meet you. Okay.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm really glad that you were able to make it today. And so you're a professor, right? So it would be awesome if you can just share a little bit about your career. And yeah.
Yes, well, thanks for inviting me. It's always great to share about professorship and what it entails, because I do think there's a bit of misconception of what professors do just overall. So I think it would be great to talk about it more generally. So just to introduce myself, my name is Anastasia Timmer, but you can call me Stacy. And I'm a second year professor at the California State University. And I'm a criminologist, so I'm a professor at the Criminology and Justice Studies Department. And my research focuses on studying why people commit crimes in different countries. And I'm specifically interested in the role of trauma and mental health. So most of the time I do research on that. And I got a few questions that I would like to address regarding the profession. And please feel free to stop me anytime if you need any clarification or would like to know more. I'm talking too much, just generally. So, how did I become a professor? I think after I actually have my PhD in sociology. So, originally, I was just generally interested in people's behavior. So, I studied sociology as an undergrad. And after I was done studying, I had this urge to learn more. And I just wanted to continue learning instead of just having a job. So I think graduate school seemed the most optimal option. So I got my master's in sociology too. And even after that, I was like, while I still feel I like research, I like understanding things more. So I still want to learn to produce, to write. So, and I got my bachelor's in Ukraine and I traveled to the US for my master's and the PhD. So I had sort of a cross national path. And I got into the PhD program after that in sociology too. And if you're interested, I wanted to let everybody know that if PhD can be funded, I know the US education can be very expensive, but if you look for it right, you can get it funded because it's a science field. So if you're into social sciences and you just feel like it's really pricey, PhD programs can fund you and pay you a stipend. So you don't have to pay anything. So you can follow up with me and I can help out with that as well. So I got funded. And then I started doing more research on criminal and deviant behavior because I originally started generally, but then I started being interested more in that aspect. And because it's so fascinating, right? And if you even see all the US TV shows, like everything's about crime and different things like that. So I was just really interested in why that is happening. So I started writing. I had an advisor who studied cross-national crime too. And I also, my second area was medical sociology. That's where trauma and mental health come in. I was really interested in those aspects too. So then I graduated and I looked for a job. I wanted to work in academia. And I got a job at the university I wanted. I wanted to live in California too. So that's basically sort of a short outline of my path. And I really love what I'm doing. And then there was a question regarding how is the work schedule? So as professors, we have like three responsibilities. It's teaching, research, and service. So it depends on the university, but sometimes we teach twice a week, maybe like two classes one day, two classes another day. I teach now once a week because some of my classes are online and they're pre-recorded. So it really varies how much you have to teach and depends on the university too, which load you get. But usually it's not every day and it's not from morning till evening. It's maybe once a day, or you can teach like 3 hours one day, 3 hours another day. So that is basically it. And then you spend some time on grading. I write too because we are required to publish. So we produce knowledge and we write articles and publish in journals. So that's probably awesome. Like maybe it takes me even more time than teaching, I would say. So But it also depends on your university and your preferences. There are more teaching focused universities. There are universities that really want you to do research or apply for grants and do big studies. For example, now we're doing a study on COVID-19 and crime. We are going to do a survey. We are already doing a survey trying to understand how the COVID experiences affected people's criminal behavior and trauma and mental health, to exactly what I'm doing. So for example, that can take my day. I have to produce the survey, distribute it, analyze data, collaborate with students on it. So that is something that I'm doing. And the service, you do community service. Sometimes you help communities, or you do service for the department, for the university. I'm, for example, on an events committee where we create events for the university, or some people help with the curriculum development. Some people help communities or victims of violence. So service is very broad and you could just contribute it on different levels. So that's like the third component of what you do as a professor. I think people just generally think it's just teaching, but it's a bit broader than that. And some strengths and weaknesses of the profession. The biggest strength is that you are your own boss. So you don't have a 9-to-5 day. There are weeks where I really want to work. And then there's next week where I work more. Nobody can really tell you, as long as you meet requirements of the university, how you work, when you work, nobody can tell you anything. So it's beautiful in the sense that if you like flexibility, you want to write whenever you want to write. You usually pick teaching times when you want to pick them. So it's like, it's really flexible. I don't even know if I would be able to do the 9-to-5 job after my lifestyle. Like for me, like, I don't know how that works. It's like, I cannot imagine that. So that is the biggest strength, I think. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the tenure process. If you're on a tenure track, you come in, you like evaluate it every year. And after 5 or 6 years, you can get tenure, which means that you are like solidified at the university and they can really fire you. You know, it's like some politicians are like that. Like whatever they do, they can fire them as like professors. After tenure, it's very hard to fire a professor. So if you meet those requirements, you get tenure, you feel even more confident, because unless you do something illegal, like they can't tell you what to teach, how to teach, what to do. It's academic freedom. So the freedom, the flexibility is the beauty of the profession. You can do research on whatever you want. I pick topics what I want to do. Because for example, if I ended up doing research for a corporation after PhD, they would tell me what to do. Right, I would have to analyze their data, do whatever they want. If you're a professor, I'm interested in, I don't know, serial killers, you study serial killers. I'm interested in interviewing prisoners, you go interview prisoners. It is particularly your decision. Which topics you teach. I mean, there's general guideline. If you teach statistics, you have to teach statistics, but how you teach it, there's a academic freedom again. So I think flexibility is the biggest beauty of the profession. The weakness is it's mentally can be difficult because you have to produce knowledge. You have to come up with ideas. If you're a person who's full of ideas and are ready to jump in, it's a profession for you. But if you like more sort of, I just want to do my job and like forget about it and leave, that is not profession for you. Because if you're passionate about research, sometimes in the evening it comes to you, you write, you constantly work, you constantly produce. So you have to learn the balance of like not overworking yourself, and also producing. So you need to know when to stop, because as profession, you can always do more. You can always write more. You can always add something else to your teaching. So you need to be comfortable with finding that balance for yourself. And sometimes people don't even tell you to do more, but you just like yourself, oh, I'm doing this research, I need to add this, I need to add that. So in that sense, it's difficult to find that work-life balance. Because you're in an environment where people constantly producing something. So you kind of like always also want to do that. So sometimes in the evening, I find myself just writing something and I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, I don't have to do that. So that is probably something to think about based on your personality, if that is something for you. But if you're a creator, that is something for you probably. Because more and more professors also engage with community, like in LA, I live in LA, so especially you can get invited to talk on the show, right? Like about crime. So it becomes more also community focused sometimes, more and more now. We call it public criminology. So you can, it's a very broad field, whatever you want to do with your research. I think like I've summarized basically more or less what I wanted to say. So please let me know what questions you have or what clarifications you need.
Yeah, thank you. I had a question about the research. So do you get like a break from your teaching schedule to do the research? Or do you have to like continue working during that time too?
So generally you combine since you don't teach every day and they don't expect you to teach from morning till night, like all the rest of the time you do research. So like you try to balance it out, and like more research schools will give you less classes because they expect you to do more research. More teaching focused schools, you probably have a bit more classes, so you have a bit less time for research. So it's like whatever you prefer. But there are also ways to reduce your courses. For example, if you have a research idea, you can apply for a grant within university, usually will get it. You're like, okay, I really have this idea. Can I like release a course? Can you release one course for me? And if you like write up your idea, they will do it. Most universities that are good universities will like support your research. And there's also such thing as sabbatical, but it's like not very often that like professors, I think when they are tenured already, they can apply like, can I have a half a year just to do my research? And they can get that. So there are ways around it. But probably on a daily basis, regularly, you kind of combine the two. And I think also more and more professors engage students in their research. They use their research to talk in class. Like I study causes of crime and I teach criminological theory. So I can wake up in the middle of the night and talk about criminological theory. So I don't have to prepare anymore. I just tell them my research stuff and stuff like that. You prepare a class, you can continue teaching. You don't have to prepare every single semester a new class. So I'm ready for this is my fourth semester. I'm teaching 2 courses I prepared my first semester. So it's not like that much work after you get that done. You just kind of come to class and teach that.
Cool, thank you. Naisha, Sophia, do you guys have anything?
Yeah, I had a question. You were talking about how you were studying in Hungary and then you came to US to study. How hard was that process of like using your education in Hungary and then coming to
Ukraine.
Ukraine, sorry.
It's close enough. So I think the biggest thing is the language, right? If you feel comfortable in English, I mean, you don't have to like be a beautiful writer right away and be like super, because it takes time. It took me time to like even get to the writing point, and I'm still learning, right? So you don't have to be perfect, but English needs to be comfortable for you, because then they will ask you to do the TOEFL test. You probably maybe heard about it. And right when they do admissions, and a lot of PhDs, thankfully, they're taking that away. There's this test called GRE, which was awful. Right? Like I did so badly on it, like 2 times, literally. It was so bad. I could not understand what it's saying. And for foreign people, it's especially hard. But the good news is most universities have taken that requirement away. So your biggest thing would be TOEFL, ultimately, like of the standardized tests. So language, I would say, the thing. But if you're into science and if you do research in universities, let me type here in the chat what it's called when you get funded. It's called graduate assistantship. You look at like programs and see if they offer graduate assistantship, and you apply for that, because what it basically is that you don't have to pay for schooling, and you sort of work for the university, but it's not like serious work. You help professors with grading or like some research stuff, which you would already be doing, right? So it's kind of like integrated in your PhD, and they pay you monthly. So ultimately, I didn't have to pay anything for my PhD because I had the graduate assistantship and I helped professors. It's supposed to be 20 hours a week, but it's not. Like usually it's way less. So it's like on paper, 20 hours a week, you need to work for the university to get a stipend, but it was never 20 hours a week. And it differed. So I helped with grading. So it depends on the university. Sometimes you help with grading, sometimes you help with research, whichever they need students for. So I think like if you're interested in international, in the US education, that's what you need to look for. And if you are like, if you had a good credentials in your undergrad in your country and you have a strong personal statement why you want to study there, and they see that you like know what you're talking about, I think it's a high chance in scientific fields, social or non-social sciences, both. In like other like economics or law or like non-science stuff, I don't know if they offer graduate assistantships because I don't know if they do PhDs. But like for scientific PhDs, I see quite a decent amount of international students getting the assistantships. One of the students who works for me, who just got into University of Illinois, he was from Pakistan, also didn't study in the US before, got a graduate assistantship for criminology. So it's possible. And I think if you're comfortable with English, especially, and have ideas, then yes. It just takes research and like sitting down, looking for schools. If they offer this, I literally had an Excel sheet, like what schools are looking for, if they have this graduate assistantship. If you have to look for professors there and see if they do what you want to do, because the trick is when you write your personal statement to literally say, this professor is doing like what I want to do. I really want to work with this professor, because they see like if a student is a good fit for the department, that's even a higher likelihood. Because there are like, for example, students here who are like great GPA, everything is amazing, but they come to a department, nobody does what they want to do. So because PhD is a lot of research, it's a lot of working with professors, they like will not get in, not because they're not good, but because the fit, right? The fit doesn't matter. When I got my PhD from the University of Miami, and I literally wrote in my personal statement, I want to work with this professor because she does cross-national research. And I reached out to her in an email. You can reach out to them like, hey, I'm interested in applying to your program. Like, would you be willing to work with a student? Like, I really like this topic. It's just a lot of work and pushing and applying. And I do think it's possible, especially since GRE is out in most of the schools, because that was a big barrier. It's hard for international students, the GRE test, because it's very weird language. If you didn't grow up with English, they have like strange words. And it's like, it's just out of it. But I think because they're taking it away, it's going to be easier.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. How did you decide to teach at the University of California? Like, what was kind of your decision making that went into that?
Well, I applied like in several locations. California, I just like the state. I like how liberal they are. It coincides with my beliefs. I think it also, the school, because when you do interviews in academia, it's like 2 days interview. You go to the school, they ask you to sometimes teach, and they want to see how you teach. They ask you to present your research. They ask you questions, who you are. It's like a process. And I felt very good in that interview. I felt like all these faculty, I would be like good with them. It's also about fit. So I think it was a combination of things: the state, the department, the offer, like the location. I think it was like several things. And you will see it's like criminology has a lot of jobs. Like sociology, psychology, it's harder to be in academia. But criminology, because it's booming so much and people open new departments, like all the criminologists I knew from got like an academia job, right? So there was like, I had options too. And my department is criminology and justice studies. So it's literally a criminology department. But you can, with psychology, with sociology, you can still apply to criminology if you study in crime. So I think for me, it was a combination of things. And I also like public criminology. I wanted to do creative things, like writing scripts. I'm writing a script with my friend where we talk about criminology, and LA is a place for that. So you won't find another place where you can produce creative projects beyond like writing research articles. So I think that's also helped.
Yeah, definitely. So does anyone else have any more questions?
So would you recommend this field to anyone aspiring to become a professor? Or
The
would you-
criminology field?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I think just because it's a lot of jobs. I don't know if you've heard like a lot of PhD students like want to work in academia because of this flexibility. Like we are so used to doing whatever we want that like another job for us seems like, oh my God, I don't want to work for a corporation, even if they pay much more. So I think that like desire to work in academia is really there. And but this academia is competitive, because like all the PhD graduates start with academia before they move somewhere else. And this is where criminology wins, because a lot of people realize that students want to study criminology. So they have a lot of undergraduates, and that's why they've opened departments and they need more faculty. Like, for example, in my school, we were part of sociology first, but then like 3 years ago, a few faculty members were like, we need like to separate from sociology because there's so much demand. We need like our own department. So they literally created 3 years ago their own department, and we already are the biggest department in the school, like in social and behavioral sciences, because students like all obsessed with criminology. We have a lot of undergrads coming in it, and it's like not even enough of us. So I think in that sense, if you're interested in social sciences and like deviant behavior, criminology is the place to go. And it doesn't mean that you have to be in a criminology department as a PhD, because I'm from sociology, but I studied criminal behavior. So like you can be from psychology, from sociology, some people public health because it's also related to violence. But if you have a field, an area in criminology, you can apply, you will have more jobs. I know people from sociology who just studied like non-crim stuff, like they didn't get a job they wanted. But like criminologists always.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
This
welcome.
was really helpful and informational. So thank you. And I know this is kind of last minute, but thank you so much for making
Oh,
it.
no worries. Thank you for scheduling it. I'm gonna put my email here. So if you have any like follow-up questions about like professorship or anything like that, you could just reach me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Bye.